Welcome to I Think This Is Great with Clay and Ferno. Today we are featuring Bridget and Nicole of Gauche Designs and Pasithea Productions.
Everybody, welcome to I Think This Is Great with Clay and my good friend Bridget Duggan and her friend Nicole Dutram, and they are Pasithea Productions, and we're going to talk about lots of stuff. We're going to talk about your production company. We're going to talk about how you came to be in your professional life. We're going to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. So, welcome. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Is this your first media appearance for the production company?
It is. So I realized that maybe I explained it a little bit in a confusing way, but Nicole and I are working on another project together, though I would love for her to be a part of Pasithea Productions if she wanted to be a part of it. But we're like doing something together separately, but she designed the logo and helped with the website design and everything for.
Well, that's a really awesome drawing, if I gotta say. I love
right?
that. Did you
Oh
do
my
that
goodness.
on your iPad? Or
Actually on my Mac, like my full size with Illustrator, but a lot of the sketches I do on my iPad with Procreate.
So what do you use on your Mac to draw?
I use Illustrator and Photoshop now. I'm kind of like trying to really learn the Adobe programming just because, you know, if you want the job, you have to know that stuff. But I do really like all the free apps because they're free. And Procreate's great. I don't know. Honestly, that's like a rival because Adobe's Illustrator or Photoshop for iPad is not very good, but Procreate's program is golden.
Right. So you have to, when you're drawing, the best thing about Procreate is you're drawing on the screen, whereas when you're drawing this illustration, which you did an awesome job at, you're drawing that like on a tablet and like looking at the screen, kind of.
Oh no, that was like point click with my mouse.
Click with your mouse.
You use your
Oh wow!
And
Oh, that's.
Is your
really
hand like
does
all
look-
cramped up and stuff?
No, there's hotkeys. There's like handlebars.
I gotta say
and
though, it looks very
hotkeys.
hand drawn. Looks
Yeah,
very
Okay.
hand drawn.
anchors.
You
Yeah,
don't even
well,
have like a stylus or anything? Like
I
nothing?
do. I work off a sketch. So usually what I do is I uploaded the sketch as a reference panel, and then I kind of built the line work over it and then did the font work kind of after that, let's say. So there's like a whole bunch of layers, but it gets that hand-drawn feel because I used a hand drawing to do it. In the program to create the vector image, you just have to do a lot of point, click, here's an anchor, make this line curvy. Yeah, I'm in there, you know, stressing over like exact, if I change this anchor, it changes another line curve, and it's a whole deal. But, you know, that's part of it. It was good inspiration project, so.
And the cool thing is now that it's all vectors, you can print it as small as on a business card or put it on the side of a building.
Yes, yeah.
That's because of all the work you did there with all the line work.
And it's gonna make great t-shirts eventually someday, you know.
And I mean, to me, the project and the project being inspiring in the first place is what really helps make the art good and easy to make. When Bridget called me and asked me to do it, it was like an immediate, I want to do this. And then also when she told me about Pasithea Productions and the project, I was like, yes, even more. This is a great thing. It makes me feel good to work for it and to do things for it. And that only gets translated into good art, you know? So like if Bridget hadn't called me up, there would be no beautiful logo for her beautiful project.
And then is that how, okay, so I do want to talk about everything. So we'll do that. So you folks are working on a project together now, and was it the logo design that brought you to the project, or were you guys talking about some other stuff before then? Tell me about that.
Nicole and I have known each other since high school, actually. So we've known each other for a long time, and then we weren't really friends in high school, but we became friends in college because we both did theater together. So we sort of were really close during that time, and then, you know, I moved away, and, you know, you just kind of disconnect for a little while. And then with one of my bands, I had reached out to her in 2012 maybe to design, because I just kept seeing her post all these like beautiful images on Instagram, Facebook of her drawings. She was always really great at drawing. And I asked her to do the artwork for this EP that we had coming out. And so she made this beautiful thing. And I remember just like thinking, oh, you know, when I started the Pasithea project, I was like, what's my, you know, my branding gonna look like or whatever. And I thought of that image. It just came to me and I was like, oh, I'd love to like reimagine that for this. And so I just reconnected with her, and through working on that project, and just getting to know each other again, basically, we started this other side hustle project too. So
all right, so let that be the teaser where we'll talk about it. We'll jump to that. You both knew each other, but you said you weren't friends in high school, but you sort of knew each other. What do you mean by that? You would hang, or you would be at the same parties or something, or what was that like?
No, I mean, I think we just didn't really, I was into theater and music and stuff, and that's pretty much where I lived. And I didn't really, I think we had pretty large class, graduating class. There were a lot of us. And so I'm not sure how many, but you know, there are people that I just never really, did we even ever have a class together? I don't even remember us having a class together, but it could have happened. I'm not sure.
I was thinking maybe like an English class. There's maybe a possibility. Yeah.
But you guys don't remember specifically. The reason I wanted to talk about that is because the guys I've been doing my podcast with for 12 years now, this episode is going to come out on my 12th anniversary of being on a podcast ever. 12 years.
Wow.
But actually, it's pretty similar story. I was dating John's younger sister when we were in high school, and this is a long time ago. And then we're all like pals and everything. We broke up and stuff like that. But anyways, I went to college and then we got disconnected for a while, and I just didn't. We thought of each other fondly and everything like that. But then I started working at the Middle East. I started living like a rock and roll lifestyle. I've got, kind of my friends are all the people around me at work and my managerial position or whatever, and just like hanging out, doing rock and roll stuff. And then I started getting into comic books again. I go down to New York City, and those guys were my other friend Matt was at this party for this comic book podcast, and we were both there, and I hadn't seen him in almost 10 years or something. And I was like, hey, what's up, Matt? Like, I can't believe we're both here. And he's like, oh, we started this comic book podcast, and maybe do you want to come on it or whatever. And then like those guys are my best friends now. We were close, and then there was like a long period of not talking to each other, and now we've been best buds ever since. It's like the coolest.
I feel like there's something like, because you've known each other so long, there's like something liberating about being and that's part of like what we kept that in mind when it was a part of the inspiration of the teased side project, was like sort of when you're your high school self, you're more like, when you're an adult, you're more like that version of yourself, but you're less afraid to be that way. And sort of the people that you reconnect with that knew you back then, it's almost like there's a comfort in it because they've known you the whole time, and they know every sort of,
high school is like
disconnection, but
high school is so traumatic, right? So it's like a shared trauma. So that's awesome. And then Bridget, we met when you were working at the Middle East, and then you were coming from another club, and then after Middle East stuff happened, people move on to other jobs and things like that. You're at Once, still basically are at Once, Somerville. And so how did you go? And the Milky Way, forgot about the Milky Way. So what did you learn about this whole journey through this local music business thing and coming and living in Boston and all that. What did you learn from this whole thing that made you decide you wanted to start your own production company?
I mean, I've been doing it for venues like this entire time, basically. The things that I could be doing for myself, I guess,
Yeah.
Curating, or, curating is such a whatever word, but, planning events and listening to bands and putting bills together and marketing.
I think curating is a good way to describe how you would book a virtual event series. If anything, it's most applicable to that.
Yeah.
The thing you're doing now for
Sure.
once and for other bands things too.
Yeah, I think I just, I've always been able to adapt and to fit into the roles of being a house booking person. You sort of like put on the jacket of the place that you're booking for, sort of. And the places that I was booking for were pretty established places that had their identities already figured out, like Johnny D's was blues and rock and reggae and whatever, and not so much indie rock. But then and I never did any booking except for that rock and roll trivia thing at the Middle East. I mostly just did the marketing and the box office stuff. But, then going to the Milky Way and sort of, they have like a real sort of different vibe than Johnny D's. And they do think, it's just, once is the same way. There were a lot of just kind of presenting things that the places were known for because they had established reputations. But I think, throughout that process, I realized what do I like? You know what I mean? Like, what are the kind of events that I like, and just growing more confident from experimenting under the guise of a venue as far as what I want to present as myself, and sort of realizing eventually that, I'd really like to have my own, I'd like to have a little creative credit in the things that I put together, because I spend a lot of time on them, and I really care about the things that I put together. I really love making more conceptual events than just like putting a 3-band bill together. And having whatever that means, that brand or that name attached to those events that I put together, and like just see where that leads, I guess, as far as being associated with me,
Well, there's the two of us, I feel like, learned a lot by seeing what other people were doing and learning from being people's assistants, and for a long time, I think maybe I was talking about this on my other podcast with somebody else, is a loyalty factor that's really kind of great and going the extra mile, which is awesome, but then is a little self-destructive too, because you're not putting effort into the things that you want to do. And just after, I think for everybody, it takes a certain amount of time of, you want to build up your skills, you want to learn what to do, you want to have creative ideas on your own, even if it's flying under somebody else's flag or making somebody else pay for it or whatever, which is a good thing if you can do that too. Yeah. But also just, okay, I want to do this. These people let me do this. Now I could be the person that's letting other people do stuff, or I can focus on the things that I want to do. I mean, this whole podcast is not because I want to turn my back on my comic book podcast, but I do want to talk about different things. So the whole point of this podcast is talking about people and their own development and how they decide to even stay motivated to do great things for themselves and things that could benefit other people. So I've told you a million times, like, I send an email to you like once a month telling you how proud I am of all that you've accomplished, and it's always so great. So seeing this next step, I was like, wow, this is really cool. Let's definitely talk about this.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, definitely I assisted you back when you were the GM of the Middle East, and did all the W9 tracking spreadsheets.
Well, think of all the things that I was doing. I was doing everything, and I needed help.
God, yeah.
Because you know what I mean? I really needed help, and you were key to that. But then at the end of the day, who were we serving? We weren't serving ourselves, but just, I probably stayed in that job too long is that's kind of my.
Yeah, sometimes it's time to move on,
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, but even before then, you know what I mean? When I was working at Johnny D's, I was looking at what all the other venues were doing on their social
sure.
media
Yeah.
because like Johnny D's was not doing like really
I know.
anything. So, yeah. So I was like trying to like look at everybody else and sort of, but yeah, doing it as myself now, it's kind of a little more making that logo, what do I like? Oh my gosh, it's not about pleasing a boss or something. It's what makes me happy, which is kind of strange too. So
and so just briefly touch on this because I feel bad for Nicole. We haven't spoken with her, but tell me what you have planned with your production company. What's coming up?
Sure, yeah, I can spill the beans because it's after the announcement. So one of the first things is that I'm put together a compilation series called Compilations with Cause, and it'll be every Bandcamp Friday. I'm putting basically a mixtape together of different bands that I really like in the Boston, probably in the New England area eventually, but just starting with Boston and just kind of identifying those nonprofits that are doing really good social justice activism, community work, and raising money for them, kind of riding on the coattails of the excitement of Bandcamp Friday and how everyone's already in there buying music and supporting their friends and local musicians or musicians that they like during this time. And so I'm watching the first one on March 5th, and the money will go to like a community soup kitchen in East Boston. So
awesome. Well, way to go. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's always I decided I want it always to be multi-genre, I think, because I thought about like doing like, I have a rock one, I can have whatever. But I think just I loved movie soundtracks when I was a kid because it was a little of everything, and you could like find a new artist that you loved by buying a movie soundtrack at Strawberries in a CD form and listening to it. And so that's my hope with this project, is that people like want to support something good, but that they end up finding their new favorite band. So
that's way cool. And then Bandcamp Friday, if people don't know, all the money goes to the artist or something, right? But you're donating all this to Soup Kitchen.
It's true.
That's the best. So why don't we talk about this project that you and Nicole are working on?
Okay, so on the same date, because I'm a crazy person, Nicole and I have been working on this design t-shirt brand called Gauche. So gauche is a word means awkward, socially awkward, ungraceful. And so
I think like ungrateful, like, you just told a bad joke at a funeral kind of thing.
Another interpretation.
That's another definition that is, they're all there.
We could set down that route of being the super awkward. But yeah, we're just, like Nicole, we're having all these conversations and mostly I would say it was 60% conversation, 40% working on these projects together because we love to talk to each other.
That's how you get it done though.
Yeah. But I think Nicole said something. We are everything that used to be cool that made us dorks in high school is now not everything that used to be cool. Everything that made us dorks in high school is now cool, basically. So we decided to sort of reclaim that idea with doing some designs based on that by being kind of dorky about our designs. I don't know if Nicole wants to talk about it as well from her.
I hope you guys send me some samples so I can flash them up on the screen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I look at it as kind of, in a way, like reclaiming the things that made you feel bad and finding new happiness in them. So I feel like this whole conversation has kind of been about growth and owning things and owning what is yours and you and feels like you and really putting that out there. And I think that Gauche kind of speaks to that. And sometimes that feels really wrong, right? Those things that are near and dear to us that maybe we got made fun of at some point for, and we carry them around in our heart, but we never really say them out loud because somebody else might kind of get at us about them. It's supposed to be about that, letting that go and just being free in that full expression of, you know, whatever it is. Sometimes you tell a bad joke and it's okay. Maybe it's not the best joke and maybe it doesn't go on a shirt, but
right.
We all have, I think, those moments. And I think that right now, especially, is a time for owning those things. And I mean, I know isolation has put me a lot closer to myself and a lot of things that I at one point felt bad about, or, you know, conversations I relive in my head over and over again. And you know, it's time to like let that go and to understand that we're people and we do things, and that all those little things, all those moments are actually the beautiful parts of us that like move on. I don't know, like that are the good things. Those awkward conversations make for fun. They make for life. They make for succulent moments that we're doing, you know, it's living. So I think that that's, you know, kind of part of it for me anyway.
Yeah, we're trying to also, because of the things that, you know, we like kind of nerdy things, like sort of having these designs, which will be on like t-shirts to start with, and thinking about the pandemic and how we're all going to be kind of awkward with each other when we start, you know, getting back together again and talking. And so these t-shirts are going to help to inspire discussion. So someone can come up to you and be, what's that t-shirt about? I like that t-shirt. And you can tell this whole story of, you know, this weird idea that we had to get the t-shirt going. And it's like a lot of, you know, we're like drawing inspiration for the designs from things that we're passionate about, you know, maybe some sort of like activist stuff or pop culture, nostalgia, you know, science. It's going to be fun. We can talk about because the first one would have released by the time, or maybe more will have released by then. But so our first concept is, we mashed up a couple ideas. So we we wanted to like draw attention to March's International Women's Month. So we wanted to do something regarding that.
So there's the unedited episode of this will go up that day.
So, okay, cool. Yeah, and so we're doing a series of women, like we're calling like tattooed on our hearts, women that make a lasting impression. And so Nicole, because she's an amazing illustrator, has designed these. We picked 4, maybe 5. There's 5 weeks in March. So we're doing a release every Friday. And
shirt release every Friday.
Yeah.
What?
I know. Yeah. And we're featuring a new woman every week. And we're going to tell you facts about her life. And it's going to be, and since this will release on that day or whatever, we'll tell you the first one is Lucille Ball.
So, great.
Yeah. So it's like really fun for me and Nicole, because we get to learn about these. It's not going to be here every day. The woman that, you know, like the famous, I mean, they're famous people, but there might've been people that you forgot about how cool they were, you know?
Right.
And so we're going to, you know, tell you facts about them through our social media, and then release one every Friday. That's the first design. Oh, and Nicole did it in a tattoo style. That's why we're calling it.
Yes.
Like on
I'm gonna have to get one of those for Stacy, because that's what she watches unwind in the pandemic. So she's working at the grocery store, very stressed out pretty much all the time. You know, just for having to deal with the people, and you know, it's Trader Joe's, so it's not like there's like people coming in there waving Trump flags or whatever, you know what I mean? But they make them wear masks, and people don't understand that elderly people have their own time in the store, so they show up early and think they can get in there. Dude, we've been in a pandemic for a year. You haven't learned that there's rules to this shit,
Yeah.
There's rules to this shit. So she's stressed out, but she watches I Love Lucy constantly.
Yeah, it's the best show ever. It makes you laugh. It's just really wholesome. I mean, I'm sure we actually had a discussion about, does this kind of work well for a 2021 audience? Like some of the, there's some of the the themes in the show where kind of, obviously the wife stays at home,
Oh, right. Yeah,
but,
the separate beds and it's funny though, because she was so great for women, and the reason that I'm a huge Star Trek fan, Star Trek thing behind me and wearing a Star Trek shirt. The reason there's even Star Trek is because of Lucille Ball. It was
under in her company, right?
It was her production company.
And I learned that through my research for the content for our social media. She was a boss. She was one of the first women producers and ran.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's really great. So you probably don't want to tell everybody all of these, but of course, because you want to release them once a week. But how do people buy the shirts? How are you going to be doing that?
Oh, I mean, we'll link our storefront. It's just a Shopify storefront to
cool.
all of our socials. And so, what are our socials? I think we're at Gauche Designs everywhere. So,
awesome.
Gauche is GAUCHE.
How does you don't have to tell me your broader plans beyond these shirts, but I imagine you do have a bigger picture plan for Gauche Designs, right? What are you thinking? What are some of your things you think would be wild to do?
I just sent Nicole a text yesterday because I saw this person that's doing, I feel like might be doing the same thing, sort of designing, doing a graphic design and then making clothing with the design, but I think maybe they're not manufacturing the clothing themselves. I think it's more of a design thing. I have no idea, but some of the stuff that they do is really trippy and conceptual. And so, and our set, we've already got I feel like we have, would you say 3 months, Nicole, out from designs at this point?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah. And we really think about this stuff. Can I swear on this?
Oh yeah, please.
Okay, we really think about this shit. We go down the rabbit hole and find how can we put a spoon and Burt's Bees chapstick together and theme it as a t-shirt. That's the things we're trying to do, if we're inspired by it, and there's an educational element or something.
Yeah, I'm glad we did start talking about the illustration for the logo, because I would buy that shirt, and if there was a Lucille Ball tattoo style in that, knowing that it's going to be that carefully designed, I am really super looking forward to seeing that. I know that I trust in both of you that it's going to be really awesome.
I feel like no one can see my excited gestures or eyebrow raises throughout this, and it's I'm just over here yes.
Well, I'm excited for the both of you. Nicole, now we're new friends, and Bridget is my friend, legit. No matter what work, we work together, right? But we're definitely friends first, and there's only really a handful of people I even talk to about work, professional stuff that are my friends. But Bridget is the top of the list if I have a question. The Zoom call is going to end in a minute, and I couldn't figure out how to upgrade it. The bummer. Can I call you guys back or something? How does it work? Do you know? Okay. Yeah. I don't want to end just right there. So let me send another Zoom meeting to Bridget. And
you can just text it to me and I can text it to you.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, okay. I'm going to do that. So we're going to pause right now, and then we'll come back in a second.
You gotta love iMessage, right? It makes life so much easier.
I just found out. Okay, so Nicole, I'm going to assume that you're on a Mac, right?
Yes.
Do you use Chrome?
Yeah, I use both.
Okay, so one thing that I use in Chrome is, I forget what it's called now. Add to any. Anyways, it's one of these things. It's like share,
Uh-huh.
but it's called add to any. It's a Chrome extension.
Okay.
And I just found out yesterday that you can, if you're looking at a browser tab, you can add SMS into your options. So like share to Facebook, share to Twitter, share to whatever. You can share it through SMS from a browser window and it'll open iMessage. And then you can just send it to whoever you want. Instead of copying the link over into iMessages, you can just do it from the browser, like just clicking on it. It's the coolest thing ever.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to get that.
Yeah, I just found it yesterday.
Always so good at finding hacks for social media marketing or anything like that. You always can simplify the experience.
It's so funny because there's this guy he's my boss now, but he came in when he wasn't my boss, and when the company I work for, do 617, when we were an office and we had a couple people working there, he would come in and just check on us. And I have a text expander and I always use shortcuts, and he would like watch me at my computer and be like, what the fuck did you just do? I was like, oh, I don't have to type up the whole date. I have a text expander that says date and just
Command Shift 4. I still use that. I learned that one.
Command Shift 4. And then I'm always Apple, but Nicole probably
try Command Shift 4 if you don't know what it is. It's
Apple Tab and Apple.
Oh, I'm sorry.
4, yeah, screenshot,
but not the whole screen.
Yeah,
just
picture of like Bridget's neck and like the top of my screen.
Well, that was perfect that we could even talk like Illustrator or Mac, because it's not something I could grab, but I did an album cover. I recreated the Hulk #1 back in the 90s, all in Illustrator with a mouse, like you did with your drawing, but not as good. Dude. But it's like got all these crazy colors and it's like really psychedelic. But I had to redraw the original drawing in it. And
yes, the redraw your original drawing. That part always gets me. I'm like, I just drew this.
I know. Well, that's why Procreate is awesome, and then you can make those cool little videos.
Yeah, I'm just starting to get there. I follow somebody on Instagram who makes very short like videos. They're almost like GIFs, and I would really love to like be doing that next because it's just looks so cool.
Oh my god, so easy. It's in the Procreate app. When you go to export it, you can make a 30-second one, you can make a GIF, you can make the whole thing. So you'll see it when you go to share it or whatever.
Oh shit!
I'm gonna look up Procreate myself because I have the Adobe suite and I have been trying to learn how to use Premiere because we do all the like video editing at once and stuff. And I feel very intimidated by it, and I was using Illustrator because we had these templates for our graphic design assets for all of our shows, the look of our shows or whatever. And it's not intuitive. I know it's a really great program, but I'm a Canva kind of gal. So
yeah, I mean, I'm like kind of Nate. I've been using Photoshop for like so long that I know all the stuff in Photoshop too. But yeah, I mean, I tried to learn. I couldn't learn Premiere, but I'm like feel like I'm really good at Final Cut Pro. So I don't think I can make a jump over to like another platform. When you're familiar with something, you just want to use the thing you're familiar with.
Yeah, it's true.
Totally. But you have to you should learn how to use other stuff, right? Because that's gotta remain flexible in this like digital landscape.
When I think that there's two major video editing softwares and I know how to use one, I feel that's a pretty big advantage over somebody who does not use any of them.
Yeah.
Which I know how to use iMovie.
But you know what? iMovie is great too, because one of the bands I'm working with now, I was like, oh, I could do this and stuff. And he's like, just the thing we're doing, it just needs iMovie. Yeah. Why make it any more complicated than iMovie if you don't have to?
Right. I mean, sometimes it's just clips that you're putting together, right? And you're not like doing any sort of what, like
You can even do basic titling in there. It's just like, here's the show. Sometimes a really simple aesthetic, just a simple Helvetica font, you know, that's all I want. And, sometimes I want it really ornate and beautiful. And sometimes I want crossfade cuts.
But there are workarounds in iMovie even, which I found, which is making your own. If you want to add words to something, you can. In Canva, I would type out what I want to do and download it as a transparent PNG and then upload it as a picture on top of iMovie, and then you have your fancy text. So
and that's free, right? Like you don't need to. You can. That's 2 free programs that you don't need to know how to use.
I pay for Canva because I want all the
You're like a super user.
I am a super user.
Well, I pay for Photoshop too. I mean, I have to pay.
I'm paying for Photoshop too.
It's weird. It's weird how you have to do it now. It's like I used to buy it or steal it. That's what we used to do. I would be, oh, do you have Photoshop? Like, burn me a DVD of that. Like that's how we always did it. Like from 1998 to 2008.
Well, I saw on Reddit that you can still get Adobe as like a testing version of Adobe.
There's a lot of weird hacks if you look them up. You can get a lot of stuff if you have a .edu email. You can get a lot of free stuff that way. So I don't know if you can like fake having a .edu email or something, but
starting college tomorrow. Let's go.
Yeah. You're already paying enough for college. But by the way, this is the first time on this podcast, because that's all staying in, that we've talked about Mac stuff, because I wanted to talk about technology all the time on here, and no, I never have anybody that's interested.
Oh yeah, I love technology. Talk technology all day.
Bridget, one of the things you've been doing for once and with your new production company is the live streaming, right? That's a lot. It's a lot of work. And then sometimes it's clips and sometimes it's streaming. I mean, you have to basically learn how to do all of that stuff. I wanted to talk about that today, actually. Anyways, like, how was that? Like, that's definitely a journey. I couldn't do a stream. I don't know how to do it. You even had us on. My video was still on while we were showing a clip. I don't know anything about how to merge all that stuff into one.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a learning process. When we're coming up on May 1st, we'll have been doing it for like a year. And I was just OVV. Yeah. So I was just actually looking in my camera roll because it's been a year since that Whistle Stop show that we had with all of the 12 bands on the bill at once. And one of the women asked me to look and see if there was any pictures of my band from the photo booth they had in there. And I was looking through my camera roll and I had screenshotted like the first brainstorm meeting for the virtual venue. And it was like on April 3rd or something like that. So
wow.
We just, I don't know, we thought about the different ways to do it, and then sort of like the decision had to be made on how to do it, and then we just went with it. And then periodically we'd like try to like just evolve as technology gets better, as we get more comfortable.
And at the beginning of this, I remember like Will Daly was doing a lot of shows for different people around the same time probably that you were working on this stuff, and then like trying to figure out the money was like always seemed to be a thing, but then I feel like mostly it was donations at first, so like people's personal Venmos, and then I think you use Eventbrite, so I think Eventbrite stepped it up. Kind of, they had their own sort of idea about how to sell tickets or something.
Well, originally we always had to use Eventbrite for our ticketing because it like hosts our website. So like anything we'd have to like create Eventbrite. And originally we were just doing free RSVPs and a donation level for ticketing. But then I did some research and I saw a venue, which I can't remember now what the venue was, but they were doing something where it was free RSVP plus a donation. And so I worked that into, I proposed it. I think it was in late summer. Yeah, maybe like September. Let's rethink how we do things, because bands, like right now we're just dropping, we basically just would drop tip jar links in the comments during our live stream and everything would be free. And, bands were like, well, like, can you do something else? And also you want to like be able to pay people for their work.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I mean, you have like even production people, right? Like,
yeah,
not
those are,
before
they're
you
like
even
mostly just lovely volunteers though. Like,
yeah, but even
I'm a lovely volunteer actually.
you are a
I've been
lovely volunteer.
we basically have been closed since
Not even when you, I
late
mean,
November,
because you did have a couple
October.
bands, you did have a couple bands play on the stage. So then
Yeah.
there's like sound people and stuff like that. So
Yeah, so we kind of made partnerships with Treebeard Media, which is Aaron Jeanette and Stephen Laverne, and they have like a lot of cool equipment, and they're on the OVV team now. They have been from like basically the beginning, and they sort of run the video side of the production, and then we, our buddy Mark from the Middle East and Dead Moon Audio and Mark, they've run the sound for the events that we do, and because they had a equipment that worked, which was, I think the equipment is portable, but you can record live music directly into Pro Tools or something, so they could mix it, or something fancy like that. So they've been, and sort of Dead Moon has been like hosting live streams, and yeah, Steven got a switcher, like a TV switcher, so we can go between cameras easily and all this, like,
yeah,
so
that was
been,
cool.
like,
I saw some of those, and I watched one of, it was like from Dead Moon, because unfortunately the one stage isn't there, but I watched their one, what is it called, one beer,
our beer could be your life.
our beer could be your life show with Jeffro the other day, and it was really good.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, but just to circle back to the ticketing, so now the ticketing is free plus a donation, and all of the donations we split 50-50 with the artists. So, and I made a dashboard so that I can know how many shows that and it's actually good that I did it in time for this podcast, but since May 1st, we've had 100. Oh, actually, we just had 2 more shows this week. So 161 shows.
Wow.
Yeah. And we've been able to pay out since basically the last week of October around $2,500 to artists, which is not a lot, but it's all donation. Like, we're not forcing people to pay for tickets. So
that is a lot. Should be proud of that. And you'll have show 200 will come up, I'm sure, so pretty quickly.
I know, yeah. Or our year anniversary is on May 1st too, which is really cool to think about.
So good. Well, was there anything you folks wanted to cover at all that we didn't talk about? We plugged everything, I think. We talked about how to take a screenshot.
I feel pretty good. Yeah, I know how to do a select screenshot now. That's
yeah, I'm gonna do it right now for our social media so that we can post this on our social media.
Yeah. I'm intrigued though. I feel like I will want to continue this conversation after this, because you mentioned 2 things: comic book podcast, didn't know about, and Star Trek nerd, and I'm just there now.
Okay, good. Yeah. Well, I think definitely we set a goal for after, when things are more normal. Not that we should still do this, but we can be post-pandemic follow-up of this show, I think.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because one of my just for Gauche, we laid out a couple of facts for ourselves, and I don't know if I actually put this one on there, but because we did a whole bunch we have old photographs of ourselves from our most awkward years, which is really great. And then some we are awkward, nerdy facts about ourselves will be revealed over time. But one of mine that I'm not sure that I wrote in there, but now I'm like really wanting to, was that I can put grown men to shame with my Star Trek, the original series knowledge. So Next Generation, because it was super long. And Voyager, I really only watched because I was working on a chalk art project and doing, it was like a 12-foot wall chalk menu. And I did it overnight, and I watched like so much Voyager while I was doing it. It was
wow.
yeah. it's many hours project.
You guys should have a Star Trek podcast.
Yeah, you might have. I might send you an invite to come on one of our shows because we just did all of the. You would agree with my co-hosts because they think of Star Trek as only Kirk, Spock, and Bones. So the original movies, the original series, they don't really fuck with even Next Gen or anything else. But they do like the J.J. Abrams ones because it's Kirk and Spock and Bones.
Yeah. See, I think I respect Kirk, Spock, and Bones as original team, but I can't not love Picard and Riker and Guinan. Come on, all the characters on that show are just so good, and it was tempered. What I liked about original series is it's brash and, very much the cowboy kind of aesthetic. But then Next Generation is I'm a science officer and I'm going out and being a diplomat and we're going to think about it. And I like that too, philosophically. But I mean, I'll take a good underhanded double fist punch any day.
Why not? Bridget has fallen asleep hearing it.
I saw her face and she was just like...
Now, Bridget's, I pretty much liked working with you, but you used to talk about Star Trek in the office an awful lot.
It's all good. It's all good. I like when people are excited about things, even if I can't.
Star Trek month for Gauche? No, I don't know.
It would have to be Next Gen though, because that is what I watched as a kid. So,
Stacey got me this nice print behind you. You can't really see it that good, but yeah, it says.
Oh yeah.
What it says, 87 to 94. It's got the crew and some roll call. So
roll call. Just bring it out. Yeah.
Well, that's a good enough place to end. I think always to end a podcast talking about Star Trek is pretty much something I'm pretty familiar with and a good way to go for this one too. We talked about art. We talked about production companies. We talked about you guys reconnecting over such a long time. And I can't wait to see what everyone's going to do. I can't wait to see the shirts. And I think you guys are both great. So I think this is great. Thank you so much for coming on my show.
Yeah, you're welcome. This was great.
Yes,
you're great.
It was great. And it was nice to meet you. And it's always fun to chat with two wonderful people in the morning. So I'm down.
when traveling's happening and you come here, we'll definitely all hang out. That would be fun.
I second that. It's an agreement.
I've heard it.
All right, y'all. I will talk to you later. Thanks so much.
Like, subscribe, and leave your comments below. Thanks.